Hello, good day. I'll be presenting my React CapStone project. It's a catalog of statistics built from different API. So in my project, I decided to go with the financial API, which is this financial modeling prep API, where you have list of stocks listed and quotes for a company, gainers, stop losers, and the rest. So let's jump right into the project so I can walk you through. So the project is hosted on Heroku, a React-redux app. So here we are on the home page where you have the most active stocks. So it fetches the most active stock, and you can click each of the stock for details. So okay, let's click. So you have Amazon stocks. You have that. So you can also search for stock, let's say Apple stock. You can go back to home page, and if you notice the URL, I used a dynamic URL where each of them takes in a stock and the stock name as well. So if you're taking this, you see this is a different URL altogether. On the home page, you can filter by most gainers, top gainers in the stock market, also most losers in the stock market. So I added extra features like the stock news, where you can see news on stock, latest news. So it also fetches this from the API as well with the published date. Okay, let's take a peek into our code and see what it's like. So this is most of the URL I use for the API, the gainers, the losers, the news, and the stock quotes URL for individual stock that takes in a symbol, as well as the profile where I get a lot of the other details as well. So in this app, I use a Redux store where you have a stock. This is store for fetching stock item, the reducer, and the pages are all in their own pages. The component for the footer, the stock card details. Also, my API is saved in .env file here, so that, and I put it in git ignore so that it will not be exposed for any thread to any thread. So, and I call it using .env environment variable to call the key right here. So that is basically the flow of the app. So, but in this project, I'm required to explain a few things which I'm going to explain to the best of my understanding. So let's look at it, looking at React Virtual DOM. So how I understand the React Virtual DOM, let's assume this is the actual DOM. If you, let me use this. So these are DOM elements. You have a lot of nodes, the head node, the body, so you can be traversing through a lot of all these nodes. So I'm representing each of the nodes like this. Hold on. So you have something like, you might be having something like this. So walking through each of the nodes like this. So let's assume the virtual DOM actually comes in React, does this, it creates exact copy of this DOM. So let me have this. It creates exactly like a snapshot of the actual DOM, so, and holds it. So whatever you do in your React applications, let's say you update a certain DOM like this point, so it continually compares these two DOM, the one you're working on and the virtual DOM it created. So it compares the two, and there is a change here. So what it does, it doesn't automatically go through and traverse through the whole DOM and create. So it just updates that particular change on this particular DOM. So it doesn't have to traverse through everything. So after updating that DOM, it keeps a fresh snapshot again for later use, so that when this is changed, the updates goes through. So you have this back and forth flow. So that is it for the React Virtual DOM. Let's talk about data flow in Redux. I have a simple diagram here to demonstrate, but before that, let's look at a typical example of a cake shop. Now, a cake shop has, let's say we have a default of 10 cakes in a cake shop, and we have a seller who is selling in a cake shop, and we have a buyer. In this case, our buyer will be the user, and our seller will be like what we'll call a reducer here. So the number of cakes in the shop, like it's the state, like the current state, and the shop is like the. So okay, let's say I trigger an event or an action in this case, I want to buy one cake. So the dispatcher, who is now like the seller in the store, comes into the store and trigger that particular action type. It could be, so the action type now is buy cake. Now buy cake. So the reducer function looks at the store and is what will reduce the cake from 10 to 1, 10 to 9. And in turn, update the state of the app. So the total number of cake in the state will now become 9. And in turn, the store notifies the view by telling him, currently we're showing that in our storefront that we have 10 cakes. So the state will now notify the view that currently we now have nine cakes. So that's a typical flow. So the actions in this case, we might have different actions. We might have buy cake, we might have sell cake or something, or collect cake or something. So and also the reducer functions might come in multiple ones. So in the same store, we might also have ice cream. So we could say buy ice cream. So and different seller can handle the same thing. So that's a typical flow where the root reducer is called with the current state and dispatch the action. The store also notifies the view by executing the callback. The view can retrieve the updated state. So a Redux store is typically a state management container for our Redux application. It can be used with other JavaScript application, but right now it works perfectly with React app. So that is basically the Redux flow that you have in a React application. Okay, what is the most exciting thing for me in building this application? I'm so proud of coming up with something like this. I'm really, really happy about it. And one of the most exciting thing for me is how modular the application is. Being able to have reusable components and use it over and over in the React application entirely, and its wide range of usage. Huge company like Facebook being like the core behind React, and me being part of that kind of I'm seeing myself in the big picture that I'll be able to contribute to the React open source world, and also the virtual DOM thing about React. It's been a really expensive traversing through the DOM element, knowing that it's the UI element, the DOM updates each time. So sometimes it needs you reloading the page. So for a single page application like this, it's really an advantage, and in terms of speed, loading, and the rest of the thing. So it's an exciting thing. It's an amazing thing to be part of it. So I'm proud of myself building an app like this, knowing that in the nearest future I will do something even much more better than this. Thank you. That's the excitement for me.